Hello and welcome to this new episode of Continuum Gaming, and in this episode we are going to have a small topic. It's more like a special interest topic because I'm not sure if you know that, but in my former life more or less was a 3D artist, and I did a couple of different things like that. And so if there is some kind of questions, whatever, coming up on the forums regarding 3D in any kind of way, printing or stuff like 3D modeling or something like that, then I am more or less interested in that. And today we are going to talk a little bit about that because there was one question by somebody who wanted to know if there was a 3D model viewer in SFOS which is natively usable, okay? The short answer is no, there isn't. But the longer answer is that we have something on F-Droid that can help us with that. F-Droid, as many of you may know, is another alternative store for Android apps in general, but they are all FOSS, so meaning free and open source software. And like that, if you want to use them, for instance, on your smartphone with officially supported build, meaning that it has app support in it, then you are probably able to use this kind of app too, and so you should be fine with using that till at least somebody more or less wrote a real app for Sailfish for that. So the native one, as mentioned before, is in the making somehow, because there are a couple of different people talking about it on the forums now. But still, it's not there. Until then, you can use this small little app, which might help you with whatever you want to achieve there. Okay, so let's go and have a look at the topic first. So as you can see, there was this question about it. Hey, is there a native app that can open 3D files like ZIL, whatever that is? I never heard of that before, but 3MF and OBG are very, very common ones. So they want to have a look at that and maybe, turn it around, do stuff like that with that. Actually, there are a couple of different options to do that. For instance, there are, in the end, open source, or at least available on the internet, some systems that can use that and give you the opportunity to show your models and stuff like that. But all of those would require to more or less upload stuff to some kind of a server or whatever, and maybe you don't want that, okay? And because of that, he's asking for something like, whatever you want to call it, but it's more or less an object viewer, 3D object viewer in the native world here. And as mentioned before, there are 3JS, for instance. This is more or less one of the libraries which can help you with showing everything off if you really need to. Otherwise, somebody is suggesting to add that to the file browser app, which isn't the craziest idea or whatever, because in the end, adding that there is possibly a nice little feature, and I have seen those kind of stuff already, because there was, for instance, long time ago, some kind of viewer apps which did exactly that. They could browse the browser or the file browsers and show you any kind of formats there, especially stuff like pictures, and of course, in this case, 3D images or 3D graphics in the end, so 3D models. And very powerful apps there, and or software when I have used that, but it's a long time ago. I don't know if it's still around or not, because today there are much fewer formats and 3D formats which are still relevant. So most people can show everything, because even in Windows itself, for instance, there is a viewer app, at least for a couple of months, I think, because after a while on Windows systems, especially with Windows 11 and stuff like that, they just shut down all the services they did by themselves. I don't know why, but the modeling viewer in this case will be shut down too. Maybe it has something to do with mixed reality portal and stuff like that, so the VR stuff, which was in Windows 10 more or less available and very deeply integrated, very well integrated even. But they just didn't want to support it anymore, and so they got rid of it. Anyway, so let's have a look at where you can get all of these. In the end, as mentioned before, F-Droid is your place to go there. This is my smartphone where I'm going to show you everything on the big screen with what is happening on my smartphone here. It has a little bit of a delay, but in general it works pretty fine, and we are going to have a look at that. I used my fingerprint sensor on my Sailfish empowered Xperia 10 Mark III from Sony in this case. And now we can just go to the stores. If you want to get F-Droid, F-Droid is available on the Jolla store itself. So go first to the Jolla store, download it from there, and then you should have this icon here somewhere on your screen, and there you can just click on that and open it up. And it's more or less working as any kind of other store you are already used to, with open apps in the end. So probably you won't recognize many of the names or something, but you can really go in here, have a look at the categories or whatever you are searching for, and just search for it using this button. Of course, we will do that now. And if we go in here, you will find fewer apps, probably at least. There we go. So 3D model would help you there, and there are a couple of them, and I use this one because this one is for a very old version of Android, so that is not going to work on your smartphone. Yeah, it's nice to have it the other way around. Sometimes you read something like, hey, Android is not new enough or whatever. This time around, it's Android is too new, more or less, so you have to have an older version of Android to use this. So this one is not able to be downloaded here, so we are going to use the upper one, okay? If you downloaded that, just to show you, you can just go in there and you have a couple of buttons here for installing, opening or deinstalling, with a couple of informations in there. This app is very, very unproblematic. There are no trackers involved or whatever, as it seems, so we don't have to care much about anything else that is in here. As you can see, we don't have any kind of stuff that really hinders us from using this, because, for instance, no real trackers available, nothing that he is asking for permissions that he doesn't need or something. It's very lightweight, and so just try it out if you want to. After installing, of course, you will find an app icon, and I don't like this app icon. That's the worst thing about the whole app. It's more or less an Android robot, more or less, with this small little 3D cube in there. That is the worst thing about this whole app. Everything else is fine, okay? So just click on the 3D model viewer, and if you open that up, you are going to see this. It's very, very simple. Not much of a GUI or something in there, but it works really, really well. So just go to load model, and now you have a couple of different options to do that. So for instance, you can go to the samples, okay, fine. You can go to the repositories of this app and get sample applications, sample models more or less from there. Or you can go to the Android Explorer, and just Android Explorer is more or less a file browser for Android in this case, of course. And there you could, for instance, download stuff to this store there, or just copy them over with your USB from your PC or whatever you want to do there. So the connection should help you there to get everything you want. So let's have a look first at the samples, because some of them are really, really nice. I'm just going to go with the Cowboy DRE one here, but you can open all of them. So OBG is okay, DIA is okay, and a couple of other formats are there too. So probably you should be able to view what you want here. So if I go to the Cowboy one, you can even see that there are a couple of different options here. So I already played with this, and it seems like he already installed that for some kind of reason, but whatever, or just remembered that I did that with this model. Anyway, as you can see, this is now the model viewing, and as you already can see, it's even animated. So if the model itself has any kind of actions in there, animations, walk cycles, whatever, he's going to show you everything here. Now you can just use your fingers and, for instance, pinch to zoom in and out here. You can have a look at the different informations here, like for instance what kind of size you have, what kind of scale you are showing this at the moment. You can of course just move it around in any kind of direction, look from everywhere, and of course just view everything as you want it to be. just to let you know, if you are pinch zooming, it's very, very hard to do this with really pinch zooming. So leave one of your fingers at the same place and use the other one only, okay? If you're using both, it's very, very fast zooming, so very, very fast in the scaling department, and that is not going to give you much control. If I do it like this, like I mentioned before, I'm just leaving my one finger where it is and just using the other one to zoom, everything is fine. If I do it like pinch scrolling, it's really fast and you really have to be very careful to get the right amount of zooming in here. Okay, anyway, in the end, you have a couple of different other options here. For instance, you can go to this little button there with this kind of, there's a tool displayed on there. And as you can see, there are not too many options here. You can have this immersive view. Immersive view just means that he's going to go to full screen, or you can just go out of full screen, whatever you want to do there. Yeah, it doesn't help much, but if you need it, fine. Debug is something you don't have to worry about, and Skybox is some really nice thing, because then you can just add one of the two available skyboxes to show you everything in more or less, yeah, in some kind of a context, okay? So in the end, sea and sand are the possible options here. We have this cowboy one, so I'm going to go with sand in this case. And as you can see, you have now something that you can move around, and you can see that, for instance, our cowboy is more or less now running on the seashell there, whatever, on the beach, and stuff like that. It more or less influences your lighting situation tool, which is a great thing. So it's EBL enabled in some kind of way at least. And of course, if you want to have the other one, that is fine too. So we can have the C one and see everything here too. As mentioned before, it's very hard to zoom sometimes, but it works like it should. And there we are. We have our skybox. We can look at our different 3D models. FPS counter, for instance, isn't showing up. I'm not sure if that is a problem with the app or it's just a problem with the hardware. Sometimes you see something there, but it's not 1 FPS. That would look like that, okay? So it's, yeah, somehow damaged there. I think that it has to do with the hardware, so the model viewer here doesn't recognize my hardware well enough, and so it's not working there. There are a couple of different things that you have to have a look at. So if this app isn't working for you, which is possible, then you probably don't have the right hardware installed, because you need a certain kind of OpenGL or let's call it OpenGL. There are a couple of them, but in the end, let's call it OpenGL. Otherwise, you can't run this in this kind of fashion, okay? Anyway, if you want to reload something, it's a little bit counterintuitive. So you just have to click once on the back button here, and then you will be asked for loading stuff again. And as mentioned before, you can, for instance, try to load in your own stuff, for instance, an OB from your library, whatever. And he's going to ask you for the material files and stuff like that. So whatever you want there. I had a little bit of a problem to export everything like I wanted, but if you are looking very carefully, you might even recognize this little object here. It's not the real version of the Jolla Phone, okay? Just to let you know. It's just my version of the Jolla Phone I created with my modeler, and I had a little bit of trouble to get all the textures out, but in the end, what you can see here is more or less my representation in an OBG, so an object format. Most of the official ones will work. I have a little bit of a, let's say, exotic modeler, which is used here, so you might not be able to see everything in the right way. Anyway, this is more or less what you can do here. So load in any kind of model from the internal part there. I'll go to the examples, for instance. There are a couple of them. Not many are very useful, but whatever. If you want to open them up, here's another avocado, for instance. If you want to see that one, it's fine too. Okay, and this is more or less all I wanted to show you today. So not much to see in this episode, sorry for that. But at the moment, there's a lot of things going on in the background at Jolla. And for instance, they are working on the Bluetooth one. They are working, of course, on all this kind of stuff. On the forums, there are a lot of information about writing apps with AI all around there. So they are talking about all this. Is it kosher to use that? Is it fine to use AI for programming apps and stuff like that? Who should use that? Should it be vibe coding? Should it be just an assistant using use there and stuff like that? So we're not going to talk about too much about all this in this case, in this format here. But yeah, that is more or less what is going on. So maybe in future we will see a lot of different apps, hopefully with some kind of a tag or something on the stores then, that this was created by AI or some stuff like that. Because otherwise I wouldn't like to show them here if they don't have this kind of label or whatever. They're talking about what is the right way to go there and what should be allowed in the app stores and stuff like that. But that is in the talks, not yet any kind of decisions made there. And so we are going to see more, hopefully, in future. Other than that, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, have a great time, have a great day. I hope you had fun with this episode. I know it's a smaller one, but still, hopefully you got something out of it. If that was the case, please give it a thumbs up, of course. And of course, if you didn't subscribe to the channel till now, do that now. The button is down below. If you have any kind of comments, questions, whatever, all of them belong into the commentary section down below this video. And other than that, thank you for watching, see you around, and bye. Bye!